Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about Lord of the Flies, Chapter 7, Shadows and Tall Trees. So Chapter 7 is pretty short, but there are a couple significant things that happen, so we're just going to go over some important events. At the start of Chapter 7, we get Ralph has having a daydream about being in a bathroom and having access to a bath. He thinks about what he would like to do. He thinks he wants to take a bath with soap, cut his hair, trim his fingernails, use a toothbrush. So he's having these daydreams about, wanting to be home and wanting to be clean. And with that, he notices the other boys and their appearance. He notices that their hair is long, tangled, right? There's twigs and sticks in it. Everyone is dirty. They've got mud on them. Their clothes are stiff with sweat, right? Their bodies are just grimy. So again, Ralph has that notion that I don't want to be here. I want to be at home. And he looks out across the water and sees just how much water there is between him and any other place. And he's looking across the water, and Simon comes over, and Simon says to him, um, "You'll get back to where you're supposed to be. You'll get back home." And we've seen Simon being kind in the past to both Piggy and the little ones, and now we see him again being kind and showing this empathy to Ralph. So Simon in this chapter, he does two significant things. That's the first thing. He shows his kindness again. And the second thing is later on when Ralph wants someone to go back and give a message to Piggy and the younger boys who are still on the beach. And someone is going to have to go through the forest in the dark alone. And all of the other boys are like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going through the forest by myself. Simon says, I'll do it. I don't mind. And he runs off. So again, we already know that Simon is comfortable in the forest. He likes to go there on his own. So both of his actions, his big actions in this chapter, really just emphasize the things that we already know. But I just want to mention that because we will see how this affects him in chapter 8. So the other boys, while Simon runs off, see a boar and they try to hunt it. And this is really significant for Ralph because he tries hunting for the first time. He throws his spear and he hits the boar. It doesn't stick, but he does hit the boar. And he is just elated. He is so excited and he asks, did everyone see that? Did you see? I hit him. I hit him. So he's very excited and he says, I hit him all right. The spear stuck in. I wounded him. He sunned himself in their new respect and felt that hunting was good after all. I walloped him properly. That was the beast, I think. So he realizes, oh my gosh, hunting isn't that bad. Hunting is good. And he feels this new respect and power from the other boys, even to the point that he thinks he might have hit the beast, which up until this point, we really don't know too much about. So, really big, significant moment for Ralph where he has a taste of what Jack has been having, this longing for power and getting it through hunting. So, big moment there. And this leads the boys to the game, which isn't really a game. But after they almost get the boar, Robert, one of the boys, pretends to be a pig, which has happened before in the book. So he pretends to be the pig. Jack shouted, make a ring. The circle moved in and round. Robert squealed in mock terror, then in real pain. All at once, Robert was screaming and struggling with the strength of frenzy. Jack had him by the hair and was brandishing his knife. Behind him was Roger, fighting to get close. The chant rose ritually, as at the last moment of a dance or a hunt. So we've seen the boys play this game before, where one of them pretends to be the pig, but it hasn't quite gone this far. At this point, Jack has his knife out, Robert is screaming in real pain, and the boys are all circling in on him. So it's definitely more intense than the other games that they've played. And this time specifically, Ralph, who has been affected obviously by his taste of hunting, joins in. Ralph, too, was fighting to get near, to get a handful of that brown, vulnerable flesh. The desire to squeeze and hurt was overmastering. right? So this is something that we might have expected from Jack, this desire to kill and to hurt. But Ralph, up until this point, has been very civilized and has not shown any indication that he has had any of these thoughts or these urges. And now, possibly because he got to throw his spear and experience, something like hunting, he has that desire to hurt. And so this is the first time that we really see Ralph taking a step away from this civilization that he's been fighting for the whole book, you know. And so obviously Robert is fine, the boys settle back down, and Maurice says, we should do this, we should get a real drum. That's what we want, a drum to do this properly. You want a real pig, said Robert, still caressing his rump, because you've got to kill him. Use a little one, said Jack, and everybody laughed. I'm uncomfortable. I mean, I know it's just a joke, but also Jack's crazy. So things are definitely starting to change a little bit. I mean, the feelings of power and savagery among the older boys are intensifying. And for the first time, Ralph is also feeling those feelings. So a big change in this chapter because we see both the intensity of what's going on, and we see that Ralph, for the first time, is in on this intensity and having these strong feelings. So, see what happens next chapter. Throughout this chapter, we also see a continuation of Ralph and Jack's power struggle. Now, obviously, at the end of chapter 6, when the boys left Castle Rock, and Ralph told them to leave, but they followed Jack away. So we're seeing a little bit of a rift there. The boys are still listening to Ralph, but they are following Jack, right? And so as the boys hunt for the beast, and Ralph decides it's too dark, we're gonna stop right now and we're gonna pick this back up tomorrow. And Jack, of course, just has to go and be Jack and say the opposite thing and challenge Ralph. So he says, I'm going up the mountain. The words came from Jack viciously, as though they were a curse. He looked at Ralph, his thin body tensed, his spear held as if he threatened him. I'm going up the mountain to look for the beast. Now. Then the supreme sting, the casual, bitter word. Coming? So, although Ralph had made the decision and all of the boys agreed that it was too dark to go on, Jack, of course, has to prove himself and show his power and show his manliness that he's going to go up the mountain in the dark and look for the beast, right? And he challenges Ralph with that last comment. He says, coming, right? And to us, it may not seem like that big of a deal. But when he says that, the other boys all perk up. They sense this friction, they see the rift, and what is Ralph going to do? Jack has just challenged him, and he basically says, if you're too scared, you don't have to come. And then he asks him if he's coming. And so Ralph, of course, takes this on and responds and says that he is going to go. So they go up the mountain. Roger goes with them. And in the dark, they're feeling around up the mountain. And at one point, Ralph has a realization. They're climbing up, they're at the edge of a fire. He feels the ashes and he's like, this is dumb. Why am I here? What are we doing? And at that point, he stops and Jack continues on. And Jack, of course, sees the beast, comes back down, gets Ralph and Roger, and the three of them creep closer until they see the beast. In front of them, only 3 or 4 yards away, was a rock-like hump where no rock should be. Then the wind roared in the forest. There was confusion in the darkness, and the creature lifted its head, holding toward them the ruin of a face. So, they see the beast. We, of course, know that the beast is really the dead paratrooper, right? Who is hunched over, he's dead, his parachute blowing around him, right? And the wind is lifting him up and down. So the boys see this though. I mean, it's pitch dark out. I don't know how much they actually see, but they see the shape, they hear the noise. Roger, of course, thinks it could be a frog. I don't know what frog is that big, Roger. But either way, they've seen it, they've heard it, and they are scared. They run back down the mountain, right? So things are about to change. We're going to see what's happening now that Ralph and Jack have seen the beast. We've seen a change in Ralph, right? He's becoming more savage for the first time. We also see the continued power struggle between Jack and Ralph. And so this is all going to obviously come to a head at some point in the book. So we'll see what happens in chapter 8. For today, your assignment is pretty easy. I just want you to go back through the online discussion that your class had yesterday, which our online discussions were awesome. I love them. I wish we could do them every day. Maybe I'll make you do them every day. That could be fun, right? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, go back, read through it, and then I'm going to ask you a couple questions on a Google form just about what you learned or anything that stuck out to you from the discussion. So pretty simple. And tomorrow we will start with chapter 8. All right. Have a great night, guys. Bye.